So you've come here for the truth. Well, we've got the truth and nothing but the truth. Here are your hosts, Robert A. Bianchi and David J. Bruno.
Welcome to WMTR Radio's Nothing But the Truth with your host, Bob Bianchi and Dave Bruno. It's an exciting day, Dave, for sure. We have one of our very, very, very good friends. Not only is she an A-plus human being that we've always had a lot of fun with, but she is top of her game in the family law as an attorney and currently, and amazingly, a very coveted position as the president of the New Jersey State Bar Association. She is the top dog in the Bar Association, Jeralyn Lawrence. Dave, why don't you give a little introduction?
Sure, absolutely. And her firm, Lawrence Law, is very comparable to the Bianchi Law Group. I mean, I see her and everything that she does and the firm and all the people that she's bringing in and expanding and scaling. And it's very comparable to us over in the criminal side, bringing in our team of former prosecutors. So we go way back. We were very fortunate that our first time going down to the family law retreat was to Key West. We were just talking about that before we started. And Jeralyn was the chair of that particular section. And that's really when we got to know her, and all through the years, great friend and colleague. And Jeralyn, thanks for joining us. We appreciate everything you've done for us and generally the State Bar and the family law section.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
So Jeralyn, let me start off first because in a certain sense, it's you get to that position through politics to be the president of the Bar Association, and just like myself, as being the county prosecutor, it's a political way that you get through there. But there's a lot of people that want to be in that coveted position. This is a show about mindset, and we've had some tremendously talented people, some very famous with famous names, some not so, but who are very successful. So tell us, what's your mindset? Like, what do you see in yourself that you think led you to not only have a premier family law practice in the state of New Jersey, but to rise to that level in the Bar Association?
I really think it's work ethic, and that's my mindset. I've prepared for trial with both of you, and I think that's also something that we share. No one is going to outwork us. We're always going to be the most prepared, I think, when we walk into a courtroom. So I think that's always been my mindset, and accepting that, hey, maybe I'm not the smartest in the room, but you're certainly not going to work harder than me. Put the hours in, put the time in, preparation. My journey through the Bar Association started, very early on. It's the first association I started. I joined even before my county bar, working in the family law section, and the hard work that I put in there, the volunteerism. I had the opportunity to really champion some really good pieces of legislation and work with some colleagues on that. And that led to me wanting to become president of the Bar Association. That power to effectuate change is infectious to me, being able to identify issues in our profession and our practice that need to be fixed. So that's really been my mindset, is outwork them. Be prepared. I probably get as much sleep as you and Dave get, which is not very much, but that's okay because you just put the work in to get done, get what you need done.
Yeah, I just want to follow up. I just want to talk a little bit about what your practice is about, your area of practice, because as a criminal trial attorney, I'm akin to saying, it's probably going to get people upset, but I've always said this. I would rather represent a guy who ran 12 nuns over on a sidewalk on purpose than to handle a single family court matter. And the reason I say that is that, I don't know how you guys talk to me about this. You have to listen to things and deal with things that are really emotionally draining. And usually in circumstances, we've actually, worked on cases together because we do the domestic violence piece in some cases where they are just at each other's throats. And to me, this would be very taxing. Talk to me a little bit about how you navigate that.
Well, first, I've been divorced, so I know what that feeling is like. I got divorced when my daughter was 8 weeks old. So that terror that I had as to, what was going to happen with her, I think always keeps me grounded. So I know that when I have a client that is difficult, what's generally driving that is fear. So try to address that fear to the extent that I can. It's not fun for them to feel out of control. And a lot of this process, you do lose control. So if we can identify that what's driving them is fear, and I can address that and speak to that, I think that's helpful. I also really understand that I'm seeing some of the best people at their worst of times. And if I can help them understand that this is just a blip on their radar, this is just a journey for them, and to try to view it as an opportunity to rewrite this next chapter. Every initial consultation or questionnaire that I send out afterwards, I say, where do you want to be in a year? Put it on paper. Where do you want to be? And then all of our strategic decisions are designed to trying to get them there. And if you can focus them on their future and the opportunity that perhaps this change in their life, even if they don't want it, it generally will refocus them. And those are the hardest cases, when somebody is already in the locker room after having run the race and the other person is just tying their shoes, getting ready to run the race. Emotionally, when they're in different places, if their marriage is ending or their relationship is ending, those are very challenging cases. But you're just trying to talk to them and letting them know that at the end of the day, it's going to be okay. And while it doesn't feel that way right now, it's going to take some time, but we work together and figure it out.
David, so it's funny, and I'll toss it to you, how so many of our great guests talk about this idea that being down and at your worst, you just take a breath, look to the future, where do you want to be, and know that it's not going to always be this way. How powerful a message that is. It's
consistent with our practice as well. I mean, the fear, the uncertainty that comes with litigation. Sometimes on your side, it's a divorce with child custody issues, juvenile, etc. On our side, it's freedom. It's collateral consequences from charges, and so we're in that space, and you reminded me of something that's a saying. It doesn't apply to everybody, but in criminal, it's basically bad people acting good, and on the family side, it's good people acting bad. And that's what it is. I mean, that's what Bob said in his initial statement, is that when people are fighting over children and belongings at the end of a marriage, it is the most emotional time in anybody's life. And you're right there. You and your whole team do a phenomenal job. And that fear, that uncertainty is something to zero in, because that's when you really help people, when you could help them emotionally and getting through that. So I applaud you.
Yeah, and you try to focus them on their kids too. Oh, sorry, Dave.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you go.
If they have kids, you try to keep them focused on the kids and focused on trying to build a successful co-parenting relationship, and remind them that, yes, while we're changing your relationship, and you don't have to be married anymore, you don't have to date that person anymore, but you do have to be a really good co-parent. And that's the challenge now to you, to become the best co-parents that you can be. And if we can get them to focus on that, hopefully they see the light, and their kids will appreciate that.
I just want to, I know Dave's thought process for sure. In criminal, it's not that the bad people do good things. It's what we feel is that there's good people that do a bad thing. Perhaps, or something that has tragic that's most of the clients we have. And it's very difficult when we always say, when a prosecutor opens up a file, and I'm sure a lot of this is analogous to your practice, and they only see a bad thing. They see a bad thing that happened, but it's so not representative of who these people are as their life and the way they've lived their life, and yet the consequences of it can be really dramatic. So you brought up on your end the kids. And I'm curious because we've also seen in the cases we've worked together, and because we're in domestic violence, we see what's going on in the matrimonial action, although we want nothing to do with what's going on in the matrimonial action. But a lot of times those kids are used as a cudgel. They're used as a bargaining chip and a tool. That's got to be really tough for you to. That's where you got to get up, I guess, and be like a fierce lion litigator there.
You do, if need be. The goal is not to have to litigate those kind of issues, because the damage to the family, it's hard to come back from that. Emotionally, that's hard. Financially, that's hard. So we try to use any alternative dispute resolution process available to us to try to reach resolution. But if need be, and you have to litigate it, you litigate it. But if somebody's not protecting their child or not putting their child first, you need to take a stand and make sure that the best interests of the children are always being met.
You mentioned earlier that you're divorced, and this is your specialty. You're subject matter expert on this. And there may be some people out there that are listening right now that they're contemplating that and they're thinking about that. What advice do you have for people out there that are listening like that?
If somebody's considering a divorce or ending a relationship?
Yeah, in a bad marriage or contemplating divorce.
So, it's a difficult decision to make, but knowledge is power. So if it's something that they are thinking about, I think the most valuable time that you spend with your lawyer is that initial consultation. And even if you just talk to the lawyer and decide, hey, I'm going to try to stay in this marriage, I'm going to try to stay in this relationship, at least you're doing it with knowledge and power. So talk to an attorney about what your concerns are, what your thoughts are. But you go to bed by yourself every night and you wake up by yourself every morning. So, you're responsible to you and what's going to make you happy. And so just continue doing some soul searching if anyone is considering taking that next step. And a decision will emerge as to what's right for you. It's never an easy step. There's many times I go through a consultation and my client can't even get through it without crying and a lot of tears. And by the end of the case, they're a new person. They're happy. They're maybe happy for the first time in many years. So it's such a personal journey for that particular individual. I've never had the same divorce case twice. I mean, every case stands on its own facts and circumstances. And the decision to end a relationship or divorce is so personal and can only be made by that person because they're going to have to live with the consequences of that action and be at peace with whatever that decision is.
All right, excellent. Jeralyn Lawrence doing a great job. We're going to take a quick break here at WMTR Radio's Nothing But the Truth. We'll be back on the other end. Please stay with us.
At the Bianchi Law Group, our team of former prosecutors and certified criminal trial attorneys specialize in criminal defense and domestic violence cases. When you need a law firm with courage, compassion, and the commitment to fight for you, call the Bianchi Law Group today.
All right, welcome back to WMTR Radio's Nothing But the Truth with Bob Bianchi and Jeralyn. Not Dave Bruno right now. He had an emergency situation while we were taking a little break, and he had to get on the phone, but he may jump back in. Yeah, Jeralyn, I wanted to go kind of pick up on something you were saying about how the people can find on the other end of that there's positivity. Do you find that with most clients, or is that a mindset thing, or do they have to be put in that space, or do some people? I found that some people never get past it. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, that absolutely happens, unfortunately, that people never get past it. And to me, that's the most unfortunate circumstance, is those people that always remain stuck in their divorce or the acrimony of the divorce or the child custody battle, because if they can't get past it, they're just shutting off the next phase of their life. That anger and bitterness will just permeate them and any future relationship. And it's just hard to build a successful relationship if you can't get over this divorce or the breakup of a relationship. So I absolutely think it's a mindset. I think, they have to understand that this is a temporary situation. They have to practice gratitude and be thankful for any and all blessings that this marriage or relationship brought to them, which is usually and primarily their children. I mean, anytime someone says to me, I wish I didn't marry him or her, and they have kids, and my first thing that I say to them is, but if you didn't have this relationship, you wouldn't have these kids or you wouldn't have your child. And that's a wake-up call for them, because I think that does alter their mindset and say, hey, I may be in a bad place, but for, my spouse or significant other, I wouldn't have these the greatest gifts in my life that I have. So it always is a reframing, or resetting their mindset. When we're speaking about finances, if I can map out for them, well, yes, there may be a change in what the financial picture looks like, but you're going to have X, Y, and Z in dollars or equitable distribution. And you're going to be able to buy that house that you wanted, or live at the beach, or live on a farm, or wherever it is that they want to live. And you start mapping out their future for them, I think it does alter their mindset. But it takes work and it takes effort. Sometimes it's easier to just be stuck and be angry and bitter. It takes work to get unstuck.
So you speak such a language. That's why I think we've always been very close. When Dave and myself got out from the prosecutor's office, we actually went to San Antonio and got trained by Dr. Brene Brown, who wrote The Gifts of Imperfection and a number of other books called Rising Strong. And we actually were the only two lawyers in a group of mental health professionals, addiction professionals. And they kind of looked at us really odd, like, what are two Jersey lawyers doing down here getting trained for a week on this? And I explained to them that you have to understand that when people come see us, and the same is true with you in your practice area, they're broken, they're afraid, they're scared, they've got no one to turn to. And of course, we want to get them the professional help that they need, but I want to have a language that speaks to them. And no client comes into our office, Jeralyn, that doesn't get The Gifts of Imperfection or Rising Strong, one of those two books, depending on how I view the client. And it's so powerful to me that I've had two occasions where people have said to us at the end of the representation when we do our survey, like they were really happy about the result they got legally, but moreover, that giving them those books in that dark time kept them from committing suicide, which to me is like, wow. So the reason I bring this up is you seem to have the same mindset, and yet you're the president of the New Jersey State Bar Association. And I think that there's a lot of lawyers out there that see their job limited solely to getting that excellent legal result. And maybe, I'm just curious to your thoughts. I feel, like I used to say when I was a prosecutor, I feel that there is so much more that we can do that will make a meaningful difference in a person's life by bringing them into gratitude practices, present moment. Let's map out the future, but not too far in the future. Let's allay your fears. Let's give you knowledge. How do you know what I mean by that? Like, how much of that do you think is important for a lawyer to do?
I think it's crucial. I mean, one of the biggest signs in our lunch office here, our lunchroom, is saying that says, people do not remember what you did or said. They remember how you made them feel. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's one of the most powerful things that I've ever heard. I mean, I can think of places where I was when I was going through a divorce and crying, and I would cry so hard my nose would bleed. I can't physically go to that location anymore because that reminds me of how awful I felt. I just can't go there. So I try to impress upon, my colleagues, my team here, that so much of what we do is making sure our clients feel heard. I want you to leave blood on the ice if we're in court or arguing a motion or at trial. I absolutely want you to do that. And we're going to fight hard. But what's important is that the client feels like they have an advocate on their side. And to me, that's the most important thing, because if they don't feel that way, it's going to be hard for them to trust you. It's going to be hard to reach them. And I think our colleagues are realizing that there's some science to all of this. And I think we're losing the gladiator type stereotype that most lawyers think we need to be, and are understanding that there's a time and place for gladiator style, but it's also important to be a consensus builder and to be a collaborator, to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. And to me, those are the most successful lawyers.
What impresses me is that you talk about your team, that Maya Angelou quote that you came up with, not what you say, not what you do, how you make me feel, that counts. And it's so true. I'm glad you brought that up. It's funny. I'm curious about your hiring practices. If you can give us a little insight, I know that they're probably proprietary and like unbelievable. But one of the things we do with the Bianchi Law Group, and I told David from this from the beginning, I did it when I was prosecutor, is our first couple of interviews have nothing to do with your skill set. I mean, we have a resume, we know the background. You know, I really don't even look at resumes other than, do you have a license? How many years have you practiced? And where were you a former prosecutor? And what units were you in? So that'll tell me like really quickly in a snapshot your legal experience. Whether you were good at it or not, I don't know yet. But the first couple of interviews are all about who you are as a person. What is your mindset? Will you get along with our team who looks at courage, compassion, and commitment as our core values? Because there are a lot of criminal law practitioners that are out there, at least some, I think many, who don't really relate well to clients, but are excellent lawyers nevertheless. So what about your hiring practice? Is that a major component, like who the person is as a person?
It's huge. And I have to tell you, I evolved to that. And, you know, when I was on the management committee, when I was at Norris McLaughlin for the first 20 plus years of my career, you know, we always thought you needed to hire the pedigree, hire, you know, somebody that had the best resume. And I learned quickly that I would rather have an A-plus person versus an A-plus lawyer. You can make a good person be an A-plus lawyer, but you can't make a bad person anything. So to me, that is absolutely my priority. You need to be a good person. You need to be kind. You need to be a team player. I try not to speak using the word I. I literally ask people to rewrite their letters, rewrite their emails. I can't stand when people are always like, I did this. In my mind, there's very little in life that you can use the word I. I think we need to use the word we. And so I want to be surrounded by people that view life as a we and a team. And so to me, you have to be a good person. You have to have good values. And anything else and everything else, the sky's the limit from there. You can teach law, but you can't teach somebody to tell the truth, somebody to be loyal, somebody to be ethical. And I don't care if you have straight A's in law school or, you know, went to an Ivy League school. I don't care. If you're a jerk, it's hard to make you not be a jerk.
Yeah, you know, we agree 1,000% with that philosophy. And something else I'll say, and it's, again, no disrespect, it's been my experience that a lot of times I see resumes for kids, a lot of, again, from the prosecutor's office where they want to come Bianchi Law Group now. And one of the things that I will pull out on the resume very quickly is when I see, and I don't know if you're seeing this more and more. I mean, I was working since I was 13, whether it was lawful at the time or not, I was. And I'm looking at resumes where people have gone all the way through law school and have no work experience or no volunteer experience. And as a lawyer, I believe that common sense, life's experiences, relatability to other people is really important. And they come in and it shows. What are your thoughts on that?
Totally agree. I totally agree. I think work experience, particularly at an early age, even if it's internships or volunteering, shows a work ethic. I also really appreciate people who have on their resume extracurricular activities, sports. To me, so many people are successful that participated in sports. Sports teaches a lot of life lessons, and I think there's other activities that do as well. You don't have to just be sports, but something that it's not centered around you, I think teaches a lot of life skills that translates really well to being a successful lawyer and just a good human being.
All right, Jeralyn, not only was that an unbelievable and excellent answer, but Mr. Bruno, who was on an emergent situation, he is so good, he's back already, but unfortunately we have to close the show, but I know he's got a question he wants to ask you.
Yeah, we talked about the lawyering of it all and the exceptional practice that you put together. But, you know, there's also this networking piece to Jeralyn Lawrence, which I have seen for so many years. And it's not just networking, it's that you're kind to everybody. Everybody really likes Jeralyn Lawrence. So, Jeralyn, talk about that mentality a little bit, about that networking and the way that, you know, you treat everybody.
it's funny. I don't look at it so much as networking. I look at it as relationship building. I was always that person in class that was always labeled the social butterfly. Every progress report came home that I talked too much, and I probably do. So I just like being around people. I have fun. That's my motto, is really work hard, play hard. That's always been. So I don't know. I guess it ultimately ends up being networking, but it's more like relationship building. I just want to build relationships with people. I want to know about their kids and their family and their spouses. And so to me, that's what it's about, really nurturing relationships and building a village, because this is a very hard practice. Every day is hard. Every day is a grind. And I rely very much on my village to get me through the good and bad days. And to me, those are my happiest days, is when I'm surrounded by, those who I'm closest with and have the best relationships with.
Well, Jeralyn, I can tell you, and I know that Dave shares the same thoughts. We are proud and comforted that you are our leader in the New Jersey State Bar Association, and for everything that you're doing. You're amazing. And where can people find you, Jeralyn?
So my office is in Watchung. It's on Mountain Boulevard, or my phone number is 908-645-1000 or lawfirm.com.
All right. So there we go. Jeralyn Lawrence. This is WMTR Radio's Nothing But the Truth, every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Dave, the podcast drops when?
Wednesday. So every Wednesday we drop the podcast as well as the video. This is being videotaped as we speak. Hello, Jeralyn. And it's on nothingbuttetruthpodcast.com. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and Spotify and Google Podcasts. And the landing page has it all. So thanks again, Jeralyn. We appreciate you, and we appreciate your time here on Nothing But the Truth.
Thanks, guys. This was great. Thanks for having me.
The Bianchi Law Group, a team of former prosecutors and certified criminal trial attorneys.
But here's the thing. He put himself in a box when he said...
Relied on by CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Law and Crime, and news leaders across the country for our criminal defense expertise.
To get a search warrant, you have to have probable cause that a crime's been committed and there's evidence in a particular place.
When you need a law firm with courage, compassion, and the commitment to fight for you, call the Bianchi Law Group today.